So, hey, Bernie.
Hey, Sean, how you doing?
Good. Excited to be here. I've never been to this place before.
Oh, Crowfoot Valley Coffee. It's one of our favorite places. Probably one of the best coffee houses in Castle Rock. We're very excited to be shooting here today. We got to talk to Mayor Gray, who's also the owner of Crowfoot Valley Coffee, and have a great conversation with the mayor. See, I wanted to ask you, we got to see each other and do some interviews at the concert Under the Lights. What did you think of that concert?
That was pretty awesome. It's pretty cool to see so many people like from Castle Rock, because I don't think a lot of people from out of town come to that as much as like Starlighting, right? That attracts a lot of people from outside of Castle Rock as well as people from here. But I think those concerts, it's a lot of locals, it's a lot of families, and it's just a fun little event to go to. So I enjoyed myself a lot.
That's great to hear. We have some interviews that we did at the concert that we're going to be bringing to you. Sean and I do want to remind you, if you like what we're doing here, make sure you click that bell up on top, or give us a like down below, and please leave us a comment.
Yeah, it definitely helps where we're at. Get the word out. We're just trying to expose all the great things of Castle Rock to as many people as we can, and the only way to do that is if people send it around. So we're hoping this is some pretty good, valuable content, and that people are looking for it and want to learn more about this awesome place that we live. So send it around, share it, all the things.
Absolutely, and we're having fun bringing it to you as well.
Yep.
So just by way of introduction, this is Castle Rock Generations. We honor yesterday, embrace today, and imagine tomorrow.
Yep.
Our conversation today is going to be with Mayor Jason Gray, who we will have on here in just a moment.
Yep. Very excited to chat with him. I've never met him, but Bernie's a good friend of his, so we're going to move forward and see what conversation we can get going and hear the future and past and present of Castle Rock, and it's going to be great.
And just to hear another perspective from someone who loves Castle Rock, why Castle Rock is such a special place.
Yep.
So we're very happy to be with Mayor Gray today, the owner of Crowfoot Valley Coffee. Jason, welcome.
Thank you guys for having me. Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
Thanks for being on Castle Rock Generations. I found it very interesting when I read your State of the Town address that your theme was very similar to our podcast tagline.
Oh, yeah.
Our tagline is honor yesterday, embrace today, imagine tomorrow.
Yeah, very similar, yeah.
So it's just so awesome. Can we start out with, you've been here many years.
Yeah, I moved here in 1998 from Alaska. I actually moved to Denver for about 6 months because I wanted to live in a city, and I know that Denver's not LA or Chicago, but for me it was a big town, and so I made it about 6 months before it started driving me a little crazy, and then started looking for a place to put a coffee shop. And kind of like a lot of people in Castle Rock, and you can live wherever you want, and I could live wherever I wanted in Colorado or the U.S. for that matter, and did my research and saw that Castle Rock was growing at a pace that I thought was fun, and also thought that I could be involved in the community, and that was really important to me.
Well, you certainly are involved in the community. You're our mayor.
Yeah, I know, right?
So
who would have thunk it?
Exactly. So, thinking about what would be your one or two favorite things about our town?
Well, I think downtown is probably my favorite thing. I'm downtown centric. I've always been downtown. As far as my business goes, and then moved from Founders to downtown Castle Rock in 2000. So downtown's my favorite, and I just love to see how it's progressing. I think that for some people it gets a little crowded, but I love to see how many people are walking around and enjoying downtown.
Yeah.
That's probably number one. And then probably the Phillips Miller Park is probably my second favorite right now. It's like we go there a lot, and hang out, and do different events up there.
We got a chance to say hi to you at the concert Under the Lights this past Saturday night. Sean and I were just talking about what a great event that was.
That was really fun. It's fun to have Grayson Little or any artist for that matter, playing in downtown Castle Rock.
So thinking about the town's past, or the yesterday part, what about our past do you think shapes who we are today?
I think that we really try hard to have that small town feel with big town and amenities. And for the longest time, we didn't have that. I mean, you've been here a long time as well, that, we didn't have a hospital, we didn't have a college, we didn't have very much primary employment. We still don't have great primary employment, but we're getting there. And In the year 2000, I was asked to be on the 2020 committee. And it was a great committee, but I remember talking to the town manager back then, was Mark Stevens, and he's like, do we want to be a bedroom community or do we want to be a standalone community? And of course, everyone says standalone, right?
Right.
No one aspires to be a bedroom community. And so we said, we want to be a standalone community, and he's like, well, we need a college, we need a hospital, and we need primary employment. And so we really got 2 out of the 3. We're working on primary employment, and that's just, it's a more stable environment for a town or city if you're not a bedroom community and you're not relying on people going to and from work.
Right.
So we're starting to approach a time where kids can grow up here in town, they can go to high school, go to college, get a 4-year degree now in Castle Rock, and there's lots and lots of jobs opening up. My law firm's hiring, all the other law firms that are here in town always hiring. So it's a different situation than it was before, where you'd have to look for people outside of town to come in and work. So yeah, that's really a good view about how our past has shaped our present.
Yeah, no, I agree. And on top of that, we were a town that, for the most part, when kids graduated high school, they couldn't figure out how to get out of Castle Rock fast enough. And my kids, fortunately, they're 21 and 23. I have one who lives in town still, and I have one who lives in Alaska. But they both, love Castle Rock. And I think that, maybe I'm part of the reason because, I love it so much, and I keep telling them how great it is. But I also think that there's finally some things to do for the 20-year-olds that we didn't have as much before.
Yeah.
And we were mainly, people were moving here just in the last, 15 years when they wanted to have a family, right?
Yep.
And now I think that we're to a point you don't have to have a family to move to Castle Rock and still enjoy it.
Yeah.
In our introductory episode, we talked about Sean growing up here and him being in that same age group where a lot of his friends moved away and he was finding reasons to stay about how great Castle Rock is. So it's good to hear your sons feel the same way.
Yeah, the older one is here, and I don't think he plans on going anywhere, at least short term, and the one who's in Alaska will probably move back sometime this year. So.
Yeah. There's gravity to Castle Rock for sure.
Yeah.
You're always in my mind it pulls you back because it's a captivating place to live. Like like you said, there's more and more stuff to do here. People would always complain in high school. It's like, there's nothing to do here. I want to get out. But that just is not true.
No, it's not. Like we have pretty much every weekend we have something going on now.
Yeah.
Even in the winter times.
Yeah. Yeah, you're good. He's got it. Customers to take care of.
So it's interesting listening to the mayor talk.
Yeah.
And his State of the Town address had the same theme that our podcast is all about.
Right.
To us, when you think about a shorthand way of thinking about the town, and Sean, tell me if you think you agree about this. To me, in Castle Rock, the town is the star.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because there's so many factors. When you say the town, right, that doesn't just mean like the sidewalks and streets and buildings, right? It's not just that. It's this, there's so many factors to it and so many pieces of the community that connect that are part of the town, as we say, right? We're sitting here in this coffee shop and, there's people here just chatting, friends. Like you can expect people that are, getting work done or whatever it may be. Life happens here, and that's what makes it a star. That's what makes it special. From what I can tell, I just met Jason, but he's got that same enthusiasm that we have, probably more so because he's more involved. But there's so much here that you can focus down in on the details, and the details are what make the whole amazing. And that's, it's great.
It's funny because I was talking, Sean, to someone at the concert this past Saturday, and they were saying, what's the first thing that you really love about Castle Rock?
Yep.
And I said the topography. There's no place here that's flat.
Yeah.
You're either going up or you're going down.
Yep.
My youngest brother, Ken, who lives here in Castle Rock, describes Castle Rock as the mountain town closest to Denver.
Yep.
And we're not technically a mountain town, but when you look outside, you got these hills and all sorts of very cool topography that you don't really have anywhere close to Denver, which is pretty flat.
Yep.
And all that kind of stuff. So good. We have Jason who's been able to come back and join us. So Jason, that was cool about the past informing our present. What do you see coming to Castle Rock in the future?
You know, I think what we're going to see, I mean, in the near future, we're going to work really hard, I think, on trying to get more open space. You know, we know what our boundaries are, pretty much, give or take, and we have no real desire to expand our boundaries. The really only desire we have is kind of do our infill areas that have, you know, still have gaps between the neighborhoods and stuff. But as far as the boundaries outside of Castle Rock, I think we want to try to create some buffers and get open space on the edges so that no one can kind of get too close to us.
Yeah, make sure that we stay the community and not get absorbed by anything else type idea.
Well, you're exactly right. Like, you know, when I go to my meetings in Denver for mayor's meetings, almost every town overlaps or bumps into another town.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Littleton bumps into 4 or 5, and Inglewood bumps into 4 or 5 different towns, and we just don't bump into anybody. We're close. We're awfully close to bumping into Castle Pines, and we're getting closer to bumping into Parker, but we don't quite bump into them.
Yep.
And sometimes that's a positive, sometimes negative. Sometimes it's a negative because we do have to rely on ourselves for our own police, our own fire, our own water, our own parks and rec. So we are a self-sustaining community in that respect. And that can be a little more expensive, like doing our own fire, our water, and everything. But also we have more control of it that way too.
Yep.
You know, like towns, you know, like Lone Tree have contracts with Metro Fire and have contracts for their water and that kind of stuff, and they're not really negotiable. You know, that's your contract. You know, whereas here we work with our water department, our fire department, and our parks and rec department. You know, and so there's a lot more flexibility that way.
A little bit of context, just for me, this is purely anecdotal, but like even just the policeman here in Castle Rock, I know that if I'm interacting with a police officer here, I know that there's like a baseline of just like professionalism, respect that's always there, and that it's a roll of the dice anywhere else in the country, like from my perspective, even state patrol or whatever it may be. But I know that any Castle Rock police officer is going to have that level of like decency and understanding and is willing to work with you, and I'm sure that applies across the board on all of those things that you just mentioned.
Well, just to brag on Chief Colley a little bit at his department, they've won numerous awards in community policing. You saw them out at the concert, the way they interact with the town folk, and they're part of our town, and they're part of the community. They treat everyone the same as if they're part of us. They're really an asset to the town.
No, you're exactly correct, Bernie. I mean, you know, Jack Colley, our chief, has won international awards on leadership. Even our fire chief as well has leadership awards. I mean, both of those guys are really, really just dynamic leaders in our community, and you know, and it proves so because we're one of the only police departments on the Front Range that has fully staffed police. Everybody else is looking for somebody.
Yep.
And we have that kind of reputation of keeping our police officers. And you know, we just recently hired, I think, 6, and all 6 of those people are coming from a different jurisdiction. You know, to come here.
Wow.
You know, and people, that's again, people choose Castle Rock, and you know, and I get that, you know, it gets hard sometimes with traffic and crowds, that kind of stuff. But it's also the reason why we have an amazing hospital, you know, and one of the best pediatric cares in the country.
So speaking about choosing Castle Rock, and I know that you have to go, but before we let you go, Sean and I like to say that the town is the star. So because the town is the star, talk a little bit about the most iconic event that we have, Starlight, and what that means to the town.
You know, you've been here for a while as well. So when I first was on Chamber of Commerce board back in 2001, you know, the Starlighting was a great event, as it is today. But then we would get 700, 800 people downtown for that event, and now we're getting more than 20,000. You know, and it's our biggest event of the year. It's the most iconic event of the year. And I think what the chamber did and the town did years ago of enveloping and developing relationships with downtown businesses and help them get connected with Starlighting was brilliant. And that's what you're seeing now. Is before people would come down, the star would light and people would walk away. You know, and now that they come down early, like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, stay all day. Crowfoot Valley Coffee here, we have our biggest fundraiser of the year here. We do an ALS, MS, and Parkinson's fundraiser in the back parking lot, and it's just it's a great community event, and you see that at different businesses up and down Main Street or Wilcox Street.
It really is fantastic. We're going to try and do a remote from Starter Lighting this year.
That'd be great.
But Jason, I know you got to get back to your
Thank you,
customers.
guys.
Thank you for
Appreciate
being
it.
with us
Thanks,
today.
Sean.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
So Sean, that's all very exciting.
Yeah.
When you hear the leadership of the town, in this case the mayor, saying the same things that we were talking to you about in our introductory podcast about how great the community is. I know this is your first time meeting the mayor. I've known him for a long time. So what's your impression so far?
He just seems like it's interesting. You know, I don't know what I was expecting, but he's just a straightforward guy that lives here and loves it here and wants to help out and knows his stuff, obviously. And I think that's really, to me, he's an example of the people that live here, right? And
To steal one of the mayor's lines, some people ask him, what party is he? And he'll often say, "What party am I? I'm the Castle Rock party." And that's just another indication of how people feel about the town, is that it's about the town, it's about being one community,
Yep.
as opposed to political division and that kind of stuff. Like Sean and I have talked about before, it's not perfection, that doesn't exist. There's going to be challenges, but the way those challenges are addressed and approached, it's part of what makes Castle Rock special.
Yep, absolutely. And I find it really interesting when he was talking about the boundaries of Castle Rock, because he's right, we are a little bit secluded. And I don't know if you knew this, but the reason why Denver is so crazy is because Denver actually went into like a bunch of agreements saying that they wouldn't expand their borders. And so in Denver, there's all these little towns that are just Denver, right? When people say Denver, it embraces a ton of little municipalities, and they're all on the edge of each other, and you don't know which one you're in unless you're looking at a map that has those specific borders. And but here in Castle Rock, it's like, no, we're trying to be our own community. We don't want to get sucked into Denver, or sucked into whatever it may be, into Parker, and we're on our own place. And I love that look to the future of being not just a bedroom community like we've mentioned before, but a standalone, self-sustaining.
It's really important. I mean, I remember back to a time where we didn't even have a movie theater.
Yep.
And we have a movie theater. There was one little grocery store, and now we've got numerous grocery stores. So a standalone community is all of those things all working together.
Yep.
So that people don't have to leave the town to get important services.
Yep.
The mayor mentioned the hospital. We now have a university where kids growing up here can get a 4-year college degree.
Yeah.
Our new library, the Douglas County Library in Castle Rock, is just about to open this Saturday. It is one of the most beautiful places, bless you,
Thank you.
that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And we hope to bring you some footage of that if you haven't gone to the new library yet, or you're not going to the grand opening. But we'll bring you some scenes so you can see what an incredible place that is.
Yeah, very excited for that. I mean, it's so strange because downtown is constantly transforming. We were driving over here and we're just like, there's always something going on. There's always work being done. It's because everyone's working so hard to make improvements, and it's crazy how fast it's happening. And for some people, it's scary. I know some people, there's a select few people in Castle Rock that don't like the changes. And I think it's just because they don't understand the future. And that's one of the things I'd like to, highlight is like, look at all this potential that we have as a little town and what that potential could mean for all the people that live here.
So if you think about what the mayor was saying, in the year 2000, he was part of the 2020 committee. That 2020 committee was working on a strategic plan about what the town would look like 20 years into the future. There are committees working on a 2045 vision of the town. So I think it's incredible to live in a community where you have leadership that thinks about the future, that wants things to be as good as it can be for everybody who is here. And like Sean said, you can't make everybody happy.
Yep.
But we can at least build the best community possible, which is another thing that Sean and I think makes Castle Rock special.
Yeah.
So remember, if you like what Sean and I are doing here, please ring that bell up above, give us a like below. Please leave a comment for us. If you have any questions, we'll try and answer your questions for you. If you'd like to have one of your questions appear on the podcast, please make note about that. And if you have something that you'd like us to cover in a future episode, please leave that in the comments as well. Sean, I think this is a great episode.
I agree. I'm really excited to show this to the world. Let us know if you feel like, if you wanted to have more questions for the mayor, maybe we can get some posts up on social media to respond to any of these questions. But yeah, definitely looking forward to future episodes. We've got lots on the schedule. Upcoming, I think we have what's his name? The bike shop. I forget his name. I met him on Saturday.
So we have Mark Neal from
Yep.
Castle Rock Bike and Ski.
Yep.
He's going to talk about what a community this is for people who love the sporting life, outdoor active lifestyle. We're going to get Kevin Tilson, who's the executive director of the Downtown Alliance, to talk about how all these different constituencies work together
Yep.
to make downtown better. We're going to bring you the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce to talk about things that they're involved in. And we'll keep identifying people who are fun and interesting to talk to. We'll bring them to you. So please send us your questions. Ring that bell up above. Give us a like below.
Yep.
And we'll see you on the next episode.
Absolutely.
Sean, great job.
Yep. Thanks.